let us explore a Q&A and then meditate like a Jedi. An individual asked, do timers make it less effective? They continued, I struggle to get past 10 to 20 minutes. I've tried to make meditation a habit for years. One moment. But I still feel like a beginner. It's just so hard for me to sit still in silence because of mental health issues, depression, anxiety, the works. I want to try harder and heard about setting a timer. Has anyone found this to have helped? I feel like knowing I'll be complete soon will help me stay in it, but does that hinder the effectiveness of meditation? Excellent question. So I'm going to start with the beginning. I've tried to make meditation a habit for years, but I still feel like a beginner, which is a wonderful introduction. And then this individual clarifies, which is very intelligent. It's just so hard for me to sit still in silence because of mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, the works. Excellent. This is something we can really sink our teeth into. So I'm going to tap button 9 and explore some visual aids with you. There are two ways, two approaches we can take towards meditation. We can take the approach of being flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind, and that will affect which part of the brains we use to meditate. However, if we approach the project of meditation from a place of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, it won't work out for you. It will worsen depression and anxiety. But don't take my word for it. All the confusing things about meditation are clarified when viewed through the lens of neuroscience, he said while reaching for water. Okay, consider this artist's rendering of a side view of the human brain. When we receive instructions and follow instructions to actively focus even on our breath, or to actively analyze, even analyzing love, even analyzing impermanence, or even analyzing no self, or even analyzing emptiness. This is going to exhaust both our dorsolateral as well as our medial prefrontal cortex. That could cause us to present with symptoms of depression. And if we already are presenting with symptoms of depression, this could crank it up several notches, which is very bad. Additionally, indulging our controlling tendencies to actively focus and actively analyze will trigger our amygdala, which functions as a seat of both anxiety and aggression. This is not an abstraction. I've noticed this in my lives and the lives of my students, and my fellows, and my teachers. The more people exhaust the prefrontal cortex, the more they trigger the amygdala, the more miserable they are. But don't worry, I've got some good news. Neither the amygdala nor the prefrontal cortex constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. Let's talk about our autonomic nervous system, which is just a fancy way of describing both facets of our spinal cord. When we actively compete against our autonomic nervous system, we trigger our amygdala and are anxious and aggressive and miserable. But the opposite is also comes to bear. When we passively cooperate with that same autonomic nervous system, the anxiety and aggression of our amygdala is calm. Furthermore, the empathy of our anterior cingulate gyrus is gently stimulated, which is fabulous. So now that we know that there's a carrot, not just a stick, that there's tremendous benefits from passively cooperating with our autonomic nervous system, how do we do that? It's remarkably simple. We'll begin with mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are automatically accessing the middle bit of our spinal cord, the middle bit of our autonomic nervous system, whose fancy name is the sympathetic region. This functions to help us to notice in a very special way, to help us to notice, to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. To notice all manner of phenomena, from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. Chagdud Khandro explained that it's always good to have a hook to hang your hat on. The rule of thumb for mindfulness is as follows. The most efficient way for us to watch the antics of mind, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly, is for us to silently and mentally recite the verb watch every time we feel our chest swell with breath. But what are we to do with everything that we have noticed? We turn now to meditation. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we're wired to automatically access both the tippy top, the attic, and the basement of that same spinal cord. These two regions, acting as a team, are known as our parasympathetic nervous system, or the parasympathetic aspect of the same autonomic nervous system. This bad boy has evolved to help us to relax to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and even as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, any good English teacher will remind us that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. So we have to ask the question, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morning, which although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the head? So as we relax, we fleetingly experience a great freedom, or at least a partial freedom, from that which we noticed. Now, oops, I pushed the wrong button. There we go. Let's just do that, see if that doesn't fix it. Okay. So here's the deal. Our job is not to fall into the trap of the duality of dread and desire, to push and pull, to fear and hope. Our job is simple. We notice as we breathe in, we relax as we breathe out. That's the first half. And now let's explore the second half after about 60 seconds of housekeeping, maybe 45 seconds of housekeeping. It is Ahsoka time Thursday afternoon. At least it is here in South California. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after about 30 more seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Sende Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus. To spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to meditate like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So, I promised you a second half of the answer to the question. In days of yore, if someone wanted to meditate for 20 minutes, they would light a stick of incense, and when it stopped burning, they'd stop meditating. If they wanted to meditate for 40 minutes or 60 minutes, they would set out 3 sticks of incense, burn the first one, and then when that was done, they'd burn the second, and when that was done, they'd burn the third, and when that was done, they know that approximately 60 minutes had elapsed. That's great for consumer culture. We don't always have access to incense. And so, for the last 15 years or so, many meditators have been using their smartphones. However, with the rise of fascism, phones can be confiscated. Hence, I promote a variation of Bengali crease counting, which I will explain. One of the nice things about Bengali crease counting is we won't feel the urge to continually check our timer, because our fingers will be our own timer, as odd as that might sound. So, this might seem weird, and so you might even feel overwhelmed. But remember, the antidote to overwhelm is repetition. Meditate with me once every 12 hours or so, and within a week or two, this system, the Buddha's path, you could master. So let's begin simply. We could touch the tip of our left thumb to the lowest set of creases on this little finger, thus keeping track of our first set of 16 inhalations. This left hand we can rest, palms up, in our lap. Every time we silently and mentally recite the verb watch as we feel our chest swell with air, we can advance our right thumb up the creases and tips of each of its fingers. Let's do this now for 16 rounds, 16 inhalations, beginning with our right little finger. Notice this. I've now run out of things to count with my right thumb. What a great opportunity it is to advance my left thumb up its left finger's second set of creases. And there you go. Now you get the basic idea of how we can use our left hand to count 16 sets of 16 inhalations each. Now let's get down to brass tacks. If you feel overwhelmed with meditation, you might want to bear this in mind. It takes a little bit more than 1 minute to count 16 inhalations. So that might be a good place to begin once every 12 hours or so. After a week, you might feel the urge to practice longer. So it takes about 5 minutes to count 4 sets of 16 inhalations each. That's a great place when you're ready. Perhaps in a week or two after that, you'll be ready to go for 10 minutes, which will be 2 fingers, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sets of 16 inhalations each. And you do 3 fingers worth. That'll be about 15 minutes. And you do all 4 fingers of your left hand. 16 sets of 16 inhalations each. That'll be about 20 minutes. And believe it or not, within a month or two, when you're comfortable, you may wish to meditate for a greater length of time. So here's a fun trick. Here's a hack. We can keep track of our first 20 minutes, our first collection of 16 sets of 16 inhalations by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger, palm the tip of our left middle finger, palms up in our lap. When we begin collecting when we begin gathering our second collection of 16 sets of 16 inhalations, we can touch the second knuckle of our right middle finger upon the tip of our left middle finger, palms up in our lap. Finally, after a few months, when you feel ready to begin gathering a third collection of 16 sets of 16 inhalations, you could rest the third knuckle, the back of your right middle finger, on the tip of your left middle finger, palms up in your lap. Remember, it all begins with 16 inhalations. And as always, you're not in this by yourself. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist or Taoist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. I suspect that is the essence of the questions posed by the individual on social media. So now let's practice. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 3.5 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's 4th session of Q&A and meditating like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.